Hello and welcome to this video. I'm talking about NAT Gateway here and Bastion Host, and the idea here is to know how Bastion Host works to connect to our instances in private subnet, and also how NAT Gateway works to give access to the internet to those instances in our private subnets while they do not have any public IP address or any other way to have outbound access to the internet. I will also post the link to this document. This is AWS documentation. You can find it on their websites. And here they are looking at some use cases, and so it's like a very complete explanation on NAT Gateway use cases. And here I'd like to give you an idea about what I'm going to do. So I have in a public subnet, imagine here I have one instance, and that instance is my Bastion host. So I have here one Bastion host. Then what I do, because this Bastion host has internet access, so I go to have SSH connection to the Bastion host, and then through this Bastion host I will configure something on one of my instances in a private subnet, or can be here, right? Maybe here. Then I also will configure a NAT gateway. A NAT gateway is always being configured in a public subnet. And then as you see here, I guess this graph is very clear. Traffic goes to NAT gateway, and NAT gateway knows how to direct traffic to the internet through internet gateway, right? I have one internet gateway in my VPC, and then there will be a NAT gateway, and whoever likes to have access to the internet from this VPC, they can redirect their traffic to NAT gateway and then finally to the internet. So I'm going to do something similar to this plan in my AWS environment. Let's get started. Alright, let's go to AWS environment, and let's go to EC2 instances, and here I have one Bastion host already running. This Bastion host is only a simple maybe Linux instance, right, or Windows machine, and the only thing is that this Bastion host is in a public subnet, and it has access to internet, right? So maybe connecting to this Bastion host is very easy by the SSH for sure security groups. All firewall configurations like security groups are in a way to have SSH connection allowed to this Bastion host. So let's go to this Bastion host, and then let's connect to Bastion host. Okay, so now I'm here, right? To connect to my instance, let's first new instance there. So I'm going to launch an instance, and this is my test VM. Then I'm going to have one Linux machine to as a test, Amazon Linux 2023 AMI, and then T2 macros. So this is free 3-year eligible. It's good for all of us. Then for the key, I have one keeper that I'm using that for all these lab purposes. For the network part, we don't actually care here because we are testing that, but I'm going to put it in like this work VPC 10.00/16 subnet. So this is like the work VPC, and then there is one public subnet there, so I'm going to use that public subnet, and then it has a public IP address, or maybe no, and because this is my private instance, so I need to put it in a private subnet, and I don't have that one, so let's create a new subnet, a private subnet, right? So let's go to work VPC, and then I like to create a new subnet here, 10.0. Maybe 1.0/24. Let's see if I can. Okay, I can create that one. Hopefully there wasn't any conflict. If I go to subnets, then in work VPC we have 00/24 and 10/24. So this is okay, right? Now let's come back to launch EC2 instances. Let's refresh it. I should have one private subnet here, and it's a good idea to have one name for that. So let's go to say this is my private subnet. It's good to have a name always, right, for all items. And if I go there, if I refresh it, for sure there should be a name. So private subnet is now selected. So the new VM is in a private subnet, no public IP address. And then in terms of security groups, we can maybe remove everything for now, but I need SSH actually here, because I like to have SSH connection internally to this instance. So let's leave SSH enabled, and then for the rest of that we use the default settings, and let's create our new instance. Alright, so if I go to the instances, then I have two instances. I'm waiting for the second one to be initialized and to be in like running and past checking state. Alright, now I have two instances ready. Let's go to Bastion Host. Let's connect to Bastion Host, and then it's like now I'm connecting to Bastion Host instead of instances in private subnets, right? So if this is ready, then the other instance is also ready, and this one doesn't have any public IP address. It's in private subnet. To connect to this instance by SSH connection, I need to bring a private key of the test VM into the Bastion host. First reason, I'm going to create a test key file. .pem is like the private key, and I'm going to copy the content of its private key here. So it will be the private key uploaded to the Bastion host. So if I cat this test key.pem, you'll see this is like the correct private key. Now I can go to SSH -i. Now I need to introduce the key. This is test key.pem, and then for the details for the second instance, so let's go to the second instance. You can grab all this information actually if you like to have the whole like SSH command. You can come here, you can grab it from here, sorry, I need to go to this one. I thought this is public IP address and shouldn't be any public IP address. Yeah, this is only private. You can copy the whole sentence here and you can bring it there, but I only need this username and the private IP. So let's copy it here, and then this is done. So permission denied, let's say. So why? Because the private key will be ignored, are not accessible by others. Okay, so it's like that private key to open. Okay, that's fine. We can change the permission level into 400 maybe, and then this is test key, just to make it like only accessible by the owner. And now I'm connecting to the second VM, right? So if you see this 10.0.0.132 is my Bastion host, and now I'm on 10.0.1 42, which is my private subnet instance. If I go to ping google.com, as you see, ping doesn't work, so this instance doesn't have any internet connection. Now let's go to create a NAT gateway, right? So let's go to maybe VPC here, and then let's go to the NAT gateways, and let's create a new one. So let's put a name. This is my test NAT gateway, and then for the subnet I need to put it in a public subnet, right? So I have here work public subnet, so this is the good one. And then in terms of connectivity type, I leave it as public. It should have elastic IP address, so I can say, okay, now let's allocate elastic IP address, and we can leave the tags for now. We can create NAT gateway. So NAT gateway is now being created. Now we should go to a route table now and introduce or create a new route table to direct all traffic from that private subnet into the internet through NAT gateway. We can do something. We can go and we can change something on work VPC main route table here, right? This is the work VPC that we have our instances, and let's check if that is true. So let's go to instances first. Let's check if the VPC, this is the work VPC, right? So if that is the work VPC, then I can go to work VPC, the main route. Let's edit whatever we like to do here, and then we can add we can edit routes. We can say now whoever goes to the internet, then they should go to the NAT gateway, and then the new NAT gateway, and then done. Apart from that, you can create a new route. Let's create a new route just as a practice. Create a new route table. I like to name it a NAT gateway, maybe route table, and then this is in work VPC, and then done. And for this NAT gateway route table, I like to edit routes. I like to say whoever likes to go to internet, let's go to internet gateway, and the only new gateway that I'm created, and then done. And then in terms of subnet associations, let's go and say the private subnet is the only subnet that traffic can use this route table, right? So it should be this one. Okay, this is done. Let's come back to my instance and let's see. So still ping doesn't work, and we need to do troubleshooting to find out why. Alright, let's check to see if we've done everything correctly. Let's look at the route table that we created recently. Let's check. I think it's not correct here because we should have NAT gateway. Let's see why here is internet gateway. It should be NAT gateway, right? So save it, and let's come back to, yeah, now ping works, right? Yeah, I guess so now ping is working, and I guess the reason was instead of NAT gateway, I just put here internet gateway, right, by mistake. So yeah, everything is fine. Now the instance that we have in our private subnet has access to internet, outbound access, and it's good for, let me stop it, it's good for some purposes like databases or web servers or any other application that needs to have like some updates, or they need to download something from the internet without make them visible to the internet. Alright, so we could manage this topology. Now our instance, which is in private subnet, has internet access through a NAT gateway, which is in a public subnet. Alright, thank you.